This is Jason Verney's podcast. I am Jason Verney. Regular listeners of this show will know that I also run a couple of different podcasts. One of them is one about filmmaking, because I'm a filmmaker, and also one regarding South Korea, the Not So Korean podcast. Actually, it focuses on both Koreas, but it's mostly South Korea. And this one, which is F.L.I.C.K.S, F.L.I.C.K.S. I won't go into what each of those letters stands for at this particular episode, but it is run in conjunction with my film-related website, and that is called mini-movie.com. That's mini-movie.com. And also, most of these episodes appear on my YouTube channel, either as an audio or visual episode, and that is youtube.com/Jason Verney. I've just been to see, or to witness, my second time seeing Mickey 17. And the first time I saw it, because I find myself back in the UK now. I'm often in Korea, South Korea, or Thailand, somewhere in Asia. And this time I find myself in the UK. I came back for various reasons, well, one main reason. And I saw it a few weeks ago with probably 2 or 3 people, maybe 1 or 2 more, I can't remember, in a cinema, in the Everyman cinema in Okja. Everyman is a sort of a fancy, it's not that fancy, but it's a chain in the UK. Very nice, but can be expensive. And I'm walking in Bristol right now, where I've just seen the second screening in a brilliant venue that's been around for a few decades, I believe, called the Watershed. And Watershed isn't just a cinema, although, yes, it's probably primarily a cinema, but it's got more. It's got cafe, restaurant, function rooms, and that kind of stuff. And there's a few things I've noticed in Bristol that have that name, Shed, like M Shed is another one. And these are most of the time probably on the harbour front. Anyway, I went to see it this time, rather than being 3 people in the audience or something like that, there was almost, I would say, 2/3 full on this particular screening. And I chose this screening because it's a Sunday screening, and it was like 10 past 7, the official written screening time. I think last time I saw it in Oxford, it was afternoon. Can't remember what day of the week. And this time, as I say, I saw it at 7:10. Normally it's on about 8:40 if it's not a Sunday. So I chose this, second time seeing it. It's my second film today, because I also saw classic David Lynch film Wild at Heart. So the Watershed, brilliant venue. They're showing they've got a couple of different seasons at the moment. One is of David Lynch films, and one is kind of silent animation, like a film called Away, The Red Turtle, Flow's out at the moment anyway. So I'm going to skip to my semi-review of the film, because it's taken me 2 viewings to kind of give my thoughts on it. It might not be a review, but it's my thoughts. I've met Bong Joon-ho a couple of times. If you ever find the website mini-movie.com online, that's my website where I interview Korean directors and other people in the Korean film industry, but also the Japanese. I've touched on Japanese cinema in the past, and do film reviews, and that's as well as my filmmaking. I've just got a film full-length documentary out, which is about the Sewol ferry, the Korean ferry tragedy that happened 11 years ago. Anyway, so it was interesting this time having a more packed audience. As I say, no reason. Perhaps it was towards the end of the run at the last place where I saw it, the Everyman, and this time perhaps it's just only started its run a week or 2 ago. So it doesn't really matter why, but it's interesting because things where I might have not heard any laughter, when you've only got 1 or 2 people in the cinema, and myself, I wouldn't laugh out loud. Perhaps you get encouraged to laugh if there is something funny, if you're with an audience that finds something, with an audience that find it funny as well as you. And even if they don't, you're inclined to laugh. It's just the way things are. And so I've got to go. Sorry, I got interrupted trying to walk back. Lovely city, Bristol. And so get back on track. And so it makes a difference. Now, of course, the film is not primarily a comedy, but it's Bong Joon-ho. And also, I met him a couple of times. I mean, not sort of, as a friend or anything, someone I've met. Although the person who does the subtitles or the translation or on-set translation and all that kind of stuff is Darcy Packwitt. Now, he's someone I do know. I respect him a lot. And it's interesting watching the credits because Sarah Choi, I think it was actually mentioned her full name, like not just Sarah Choi, but maybe some Sarah Jung. I don't want to get this wrong, but it was more than that. But to the film itself. So, when Bong Joon-ho does films for, let's say, the international audience more than his other films, what I realise now is let's take into account those three main films. There's Snowpiercer and Okja. Okja was kind of a Netflix exclusive, and this one, which is Mickey 17, based on a book, Mickey 7, whereas Bong Joon-ho just added a few more deaths to it, and obviously added his own style to it. And talking of style, it's still got the sort of stuff you'd expect to see, whether it's Memories of Murder, one of his films, Mother, or what's the other? And of course, Parasite. You've still got the great panning, the use of music. It's his style, very much his style. And although I think what I was trying to say was what he does for films, or it seems like he does, he really kind of has characters that ham up the performances much more than the Korean films that I was mentioning. There's also, so you've got, for example, Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette in the two main they're not main roles, but two sort of villainous roles, a husband and wife team, I suppose, of this film. Robert Pattinson is the guy, our hero or antagonist, or protagonist, but also because there's two of him, no shock there, because I'm sure you knew there was more than one of him in the film at some point. I guess you've got the protagonist and the antagonist. And so with his films, like with Snowpiercer and Okja, you had Tilda Swinton playing the kind of evil person, or sort of really over-the-top character as well. And these films, they often have a few Korean characters. In this film, there was a couple. There's at least one, Stephen Yeun, or he was Korean American, essentially, I guess. But I think there's one or two I spotted. There was a Korean, maybe there was Chinese American maybe as well, maybe in the background, because there's a few. I was looking out for other characters because that's something that I was trying to compare with his Korean films. Now, what I mean by that is it's good that he keeps the Korean aspect in his films, but in this I didn't really feel it. Like Okja, you really feel it. It opens in Korean. It starts off in the hills in a certain part of South Korea, or let's just say Korea, and it's very Korean, and I really loved Okja because of that. It feels like that. So then it goes into madcap stuff, but it's still good film, and that film has got great sort of a message about what we're doing by mass farming, mass producing, and what bad things we're doing. And in a way, this film that I've just come from, the Mickey 17, there are creatures in it, and you are reminded of The Host, one of his films. You could be reminded of Okja just because of that. It's a creature, and so is Okja, the giant pig. But in this, even when you first see the alien, sorry, not alien, well, they are aliens because they're on another planet, but whatever they are, they're creatures. But as the character says in this, the main female, she's brilliant. She's brilliant. Her character's name is Nacha. I haven't got the full list of cast of characters in front of me, but she's brilliant. She's amazing. She really carries it. Actually, it's not just Robert Pattinson, but her character's, pretty mind blowing in places. And so yes, when you see these creatures for the first time, or at least the big one, it's almost reminiscent of the Host, the creature in the Host. Now, back in Bong Joon-ho's Host, which was, one of his very well known in Korea, and it had a message as well, like Parasite. They all have a lot of his films have a message, and they're always often a very good message. But in this, you're reminded of that creature in the Host. And actually, I was in Seoul. I was in Korea 2 times last year in 2024. And I think it was either the first time, or it might be in the end of 2023 as well, when I was there in the autumn. And I went to the statue because I heard they were going to take away the Host statue in Uido Park, or in that area of Seoul. Anyway, when the Host came out, some people said that the effects were a bit unrefined or shonky or shoddy, but I mean, I don't think so. I think it's still a pretty good film for its time. The Host, South Korea's film thing has really grown since then. Its film industry, its filmmaking, and its techniques, and not necessarily for the better. I mean, what I mean is by that is, obviously, it's for its filmmaking styles, it's better, and its technical abilities. But it's not always. Doesn't mean that they always come up with original films now, because they're always jumping on the bandwagon of whether it's zombies or certain kind of comedy. And Hollywood does that as well. But Korea, I sort of was into Korean films a decade and a half ago, and they're the ones, and even older than that I really like. And now every now and again a good one comes along. And anyway, there's so much I could talk about, and I'm going to try to do it. So we've got the creatures. They remind me a bit of the Host. There's a house. There's a mention of a character. So we've got duplicates or multiples in the film, and that's what it's about. It's about duplicating people. Well, that's one of the things it's about. And you're taken aback to this kind of court case or incident that happened to this, character that we're briefly introduced to, kind of a flashback or backstory. And they go to a house, a really stylized house, and it reminds me of the one in Parasite. If you've seen Parasite, you'll know what I mean, where the richer family lives. And that's a couple of parallels I saw in this. And so we've got a few things here already, and you've got a lot of things where you've got a bit in the film, and I'm trying not to give away, I don't like to give spoilers. There's a bit in the film where things change and they say, let's kill that man, whoever that man is. I'm not going to go into that. And almost the music in the background, and when it was actually kind of announced that the story is going to flip a little bit, which was at least an hour in and probably over halfway, it reminded me of Parasite. Now, it wasn't like in Parasite there is a twist, I'd say, and this this particular moment in Mickey 17, the tempo, or at least the music at that very stage, I'm not going to say exactly where it was, but where Robert Pattinson's character says to his clone or his multiple or his duplicate, his doppelganger, he says that, I'm just crossing the road, bear with me. So he says that we're going to do this, and that, as I say, something in the background or something in the feel reminds me of that moment in Parasite. There's also another bit later on, and this isn't about Bong Joon-ho's films, But there's a bit later, there's a lot of rushing around, someone's being shot, suits are being put on, like these kind of like gas sort of nuclear protection suits or whatever you want to call them. And the music, the up-tempo, the silliness, the quickness and the absurdity of it reminded me of Park Chan-wook's film, The Handmaiden, or Agassi as it's known in Korean, or that's what the Korean title is. When the mental institution or madhouse they call it, I think, when one of the characters is put into there, and well, not when they're in there, but when they're about to a breakout is about to happen or does happen, and that music, the kind of style, I'm not saying he's copied that, but it was very reminiscent of Park Chan-wook rather than Bong Joon-ho. Again, that's the way I see it. Doesn't mean to say that if you've seen this film, you would think the same. Actually, even in this second viewing, there's things that I didn't they didn't play on my mind like the first time. For example, at the beginning of this film, near the beginning, these creatures don't kill this particular Mickey, whether he's 17 or 16 or whatever. I'm not going to give anything away. They don't kill him, and we don't think anything of that, but I did think in the first screening, I thought, oh, they're saving him, are they? And it's almost like in your mind all the way along, is that going to be the case, that he was actually saved and it's going to come up again in the film? And this time, because I guess I went in more relaxed in the fact that I didn't have to learn the story, I knew it, and that's partly why I went to see this, because there's other films on offer. It was my second film of the day, and I wanted something I don't have to think about. I've seen a film before, and not to say that Mickey 17, you really have to. It's not a film you really have to think about, but I just wanted something, and I wanted to see it again before it goes, because with Korean, well, I mean, you can catch Korean cinema, online, and I'm talking officially, or you can buy the film. But I just think very often, sometimes there's a season of films, like Hollywood films, and you get a chance to see a film that you missed again on the big screen. And it was like Parasite, when that was a big thing. I saw it 4 or 5 times, and I thought this has become so big that what are the chances of me seeing a Korean film in the cinema? So I saw it a few times, and because I know that, as I said, we get chances with other films, and we sometimes get a chance to see those again. So going back to the Koreanness of it, I didn't really, yes, because there's Stephen Young, there is that Korean element. There was also mention of these people that have gone to this other planet being the aliens, not the aliens being the aliens, and that was spoken by our main female character Nasha, and she is black. Now, I can't say what's in the book and what's not in the book because I haven't read it, of Mickey 7, but it could be that there was a statement being made there, because there was that black character saying that, and about, maybe native, the people that are native people of any country, Native Americans or African Americans or whatever, making a statement. And I thought it was good that the line or two that come out towards the end of the film that came from her character and her mouth, and that was it was just, it was it meant more. There is a scene in it where it's kind of cringeworthy, and I guess it's meant to be, where they're all around a table, Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette, Pattinson's character, and one or two others. The other female character in this, her character's name is Kai, and there's a bit where they cringingly start being very evangelistic around the dinner table, and there's no music or anything. It's very like, oh God. And it's meant to be. It's probably making a statement, but it was just a bit cringy. Even the second time, I was like, oh. But again, that's what it's meant to be. But again, the audience's reactions. I suppose it's mostly comedy. So I'm near an underpass of cars. Like I'm over another road. So you might be picking up on that. And it's very so when the other reactions audiences make, when there's more of them, or you feel it more, not just laughing, you might get a bit of gore. Like people they might gasp. So that was another thing that happened. There's not a lot of gore in this film, but there is blood and animals being cut up and people being, their heads being smashed in or vomiting. You might get the odd sound from the audience from things like that. So yeah, I think there's a lot more I kind of want to say, but I don't also want to give it away. But I just think that going back to what I said about his films, I think I prefer Okja out of the three, Snowpiercer, Mickey 17 or Okja, because Okja's got that Korean-ness to it. It's got a real message about meat and animals, and I'm not vegetarian. I was for a long while. I was also vegan for a shortish while, half a year or so, and now I'm a bit of a flexitarian. As things might change, but it's just got that great message about what we do, and even in Mickey 17 and what we do to these creatures, but we don't think a second what we do to other, what to do to each other. And there's a lot of that. And of course, Mark Ruffalo's character, some people say he's Trump-based. He's obviously decided to base it on him or a very well-known, gosh, that's noisy, politician. I can't think of anyone else really. He might have had his own thoughts of who he based it on. And so, yeah, I'm glad I saw it a second time. And it's very well done. The effects are very well done. Obviously it's mostly studio-based, if not all. And I just think he has done a good job. It might not be to what everyone's expecting. If you go along thinking it's going to be Parasite, and if you're a fan of Parasite, you are going to be a bit disappointed, because Parasite was more, first of all, it was more realistic, more like realism, and it's the rich against the poor. Although Mickey 17 is a bit like that as well, but with Parasite, it's more believable. We're on this planet. We're not in another planet. We're in Seoul. We've got a rich person's house, a poor person's house. Comedy's great in Parasite. Yeah, if you're going to expecting that, I suppose this film is less original in the fact that it's based on a book. Snowpiercer was based on a comic strip thing, a French book, I believe. Okja, I think, was more, it might have been inspired by something that Bong Joon-ho heard, but it was all original other than that, I think. So that's that. Other films, Memories of Murder, as I said, Maddo, Mother, The Host, and I haven't got very far to walk now, actually, so I might have to wrap this up. And I probably have said, I'm probably going to forget something. There was a couple of things in the film which I liked, which have nothing to do with, well, they were kind of reminiscent of another film when Mark Ruffalo did this hand gesture, which reminded me of Thailand and the protesters, which the protesters got from the Hunger Games films, the kind of outside and forefinger salute thing, the two fingers out of your four fingers, the two fingers in the middle are down and the others are up outward. Almost a bit Star Trek-y, I suppose, as well. But it was a good film. Toni Collette's character is good, trying to prompt her husband, who is a bit bumbling, to say the least. Oh, the other guy, what's his name? Someone Key. He's in Alan Partridge, and he's his sidekick in some of the episodes and series of Alan Partridge with Steve Coogan. He plays a good role in this, and it's It's not throughout, but then again, nor is Mark Ruffalo, really. He pops up and down. Robert Pattinson is in it throughout and playing two characters a lot of the time. Here we go, a bit of noise. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that car has an accident. I used to drive, I haven't done for years. But, okay, so, final thoughts then. I liked it. I was just trying to make comparisons with his other films, trying to make a statement of how his films differ from his Korean ones, his American ones. I do think you could say he dumbs them down. Now, if it was just for America alone, that would say a lot about how Hollywood is. Some of the movies, the films, they are very dumbed down. And people like that sometimes, so, fair enough. But they're not so... I mean, even in his Memories of Murder and... The Host, definitely. You've got quite a few bits of humour splattered throughout. Mother, I think, less humour. It's more dark. Parasite, you've got humour. He does mix it up. He's very good at that. I recently got hold of Barking Dogs I'm just crossing the road. Don't Bite. And that's a film that was his first ever feature, Bong Joon-ho's feature. And so, I think, he does... It's almost like, this is what I was saying to my friends, it's almost like he's joking. He can be given all this budget to do anything he wants in Hollywood. Once the film's agreed and all that, and I'm sure, hopefully he has final cut. There was talk of him not getting final cut in this, but I hope he did, and it's nice to think he did. That he's almost like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to make a ridiculous film and you're going to love it. Where there's his Korean films, there's more substance in some ways, I'd say. So, so Mickey 17, do go and see it if you're prepared for anything. If you like silly films, if you like Robert Pattinson, if you like sort of, sci-fi, what if scenarios, future or dystopian scenarios maybe. And if you like Bong Joon-ho, and do see it if you're into that. You'll see what I mean about the differences. If you're a fan of Bong Joon-ho, you will know what I mean with regards to his other films and this. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to mention at the end that the film I just spoke about really briefly, which was my 1 hour 10 minute basically feature-length documentary called Seoul, and it's I've made each letter of Seoul equal a word. One second. And that is sealed eternally with our love. And I just wanted to say, recently I've heard some good news. It's been selected for the Kingston International Film Festival here in London, or here in Surrey, London. Sorry, here in England. I'm not in Surrey as I'm walking right now. I'm in Bristol. And no, I'm not walking to London. I was in New Malden only yesterday. New Malden is Koreatown. It's the largest community of Koreans in Europe, and it's actually what sparked off me and my co-host's podcast, the Not So Korean podcast, and that's kind of partly why we started that off. So I'm really happy that film, it's Korean related. The film I did before was a 30-minute drama with Korean and English language. This documentary is very different. I've been an activist for the Ceral Ferry cause for 11 years. I've been heavily involved with it, and it means a lot to me. Anyway, I hope you like this chat. Sorry about the noise, about Mickey 17. and I'm going to go and say bid you farewell. Okay, I'll speak to you in the next one. See ya. So that's my 2 cents, to use an American term. You can find any more episodes at jasonverney.com. That's my website, which includes pretty much loads of things I do: my filmmaking, my film reviews, my talks, my speeches and what have you. But minimovie.com, but youtube.com/Jason Verney, and the Micro Budget Filmmakers podcast and the Not So Korean podcast. You can find all those out there. Okay, I'll leave it at that, and I bid you all farewell and have a great day. See ya.